Hi, this is Stephen Barrett from Irvine Valley Community College. This is for CSIT 256, Computer Architecture and Assembly Language. This is meant to be a demo for Irvine Chapter 8, specifically looking at local variables. And what I wanted to do, I just did it as a silly example. Back in Chapter 5, one of the demos that I had loaded, I don't know if I did a video on it, was the nested loop example. And in the nested loop example, because we had a loop inside of a loop, I backed up ECX by pushing it onto the stack and then restored ECX by popping it off of the stack. And then the other thing that was also done was that because EAX was being used as the value for the day of the week, that was being pushed and popped onto the stack because we needed the EAX in order to do the write card. And then let me just take this one from the nested loop from Chapter 5, just get it up and running here, just so we can see what its output was. And its output was the year. So January to December, and then for each month, the days in the month, ignoring leap year, of course. Now, okay, so the demo that I want to do here for Chapter 8, let's bring it over here, and hopefully this will compile and run the same way. Okay, so January to December, and then the days for each month. And what I did is, for this demo, is I took the code that was in the main method and I moved it into a procedure called display year. Now the display year procedure now does have two parameters. So ECX is going to be the length of the array for the days and months, and ESI is going to be the pointer to that array. So what will happen is the display year procedure is going to assume that it's given a pointer and the number of elements for an array of bytes, and it's hard-coded in it to be dealing with with bytes, as opposed to an array of words or an array of D words or an array of anything else. So the display year is going to assume it's dealing with an array of bytes. So now if I peek at, so here's display year, these are the comments for it. So it is mentioning what it is assuming that it's receiving. And we'll come back to the variables for a second. Well, no, we'll do the variables right now. What was happening in the previous program, and actually let's jump back over to the nested loop example. In the nested loop example, it was reloading, or was loading EAX with the length of the array, subtracting from it ECX and incrementing to display the month. So it was all of this code was used for displaying the month. What I decided to do here is we still have to go through the logic for displaying the month, but instead of getting the length of the array, since this procedure here doesn't know the name of the array it's dealing with, then at the very top, before going into the loop, we're going to take what's in ECX, which is the number of months, and we're going to put it into a local variable. So up here, so display year proc, this is the header for the procedure, and if we look in here, local, number of months, colon, D word. So the ECX we're putting into this number of months. And so here we're getting the number of months, loading the EAX, subtracting ECX, adding 1. That will display the month. This will display the colon. Well, we're about to, up here, I'm jumping ahead, whoops. Up here, this is the nested loop that's going to be doing the different dates. And what we need to do is, because of the outer loop here, we need to back up ECX. So in the prior one, we did the push onto ECX. But what we're doing here is I'm sticking it into a local variable. The local variable is backup ECX. So we're taking the ECX and we're sticking it into a named place in memory, a local variable. Well, then now we're using, so now we're loading ECX with the number of days in the month in order for this loop to run. The other thing that the other program did is it used EAX for the day of the month. So what it had to do was back up EAX in order to display the character and then restore it again. And what I decided to do here is day of month. Here's another local variable. So day of month is a D word. And here we're loading it with 1. We're loading into EAX. We're loading day of month into EAX to display it. And then down here, we're incrementing the day of the month. So instead of having to do the push pop in order for us to work with EAX for displaying the character, we don't have to now do the push and the pop for us to display the character. So this local here is a comma delimited list of, and the format would be variable : data type. So these are just the local variables that I'm using throughout this procedure. And I believe I already did compile it. It does produce, oops, off screen, it does produce the same results. In terms of efficiencies, I'm not going to say whether it's more efficient or less efficient, or the fact that we're sticking stuff to memory instead of using the stack, but it's just if we wanted to declare a variable locally because we want to temporarily hold on to data and we don't want to deal with the stack for whatever reason, this is something we can do is just declare some local variables. That's it for local variables.